Hello everyone. So today I'm going to create real-time application of New Year goals for 2023 in reactjs. In this video, I'm going to show you how reactjs can be used to create a real-time applications of New Year goals. So it is going to be really fun. So I'm going to cover in this lecture number 31st. I'm going to cover all the topics which we have discussed in our previous videos. And you are going to learn all the things with the practical example on a real world projects, right? So in this topic, I'm going to cover JSX, properties, components, use states, CSS classes, how we can use CSS classes, class names, composition components, events, split complex components into multiple components, and it is going to be really fun. So guys, don't forget to subscribe and like my channel. So let's get started and create a new project. So you all know I will go to a directory where I need to create the new project. I will say React projects, and then here I need to pass the command. You all know what command we need to pass. npx create React app and name of the project new new air goals. I'm not going to write the air name. That's fine. New Year goals. Press enter. So once we press enter, it's going to create the new project. So guys, finally the project is created. Congratulations. So in this video, we are going to create a project where I'm going to show you a demo. This is a New Year goal 2020 2023 application. So we are going to add the goal here, and here we are going to show the new goals. Like I'm showing start new React course, and under that exercise daily for 30 minutes at least. You can add your goals, and if you click here or double click or click whatever functionality you set, it is going to remove that. So this is just going to be a basic application, but it is going to cover all the topics which we have covered till now. And I already told you what are those topics. Or there are almost 10 to 12 topics which I'm going to cover in this video. So guys, let's get started. Mm, let me open the project. If I go to open and open the folder, click on open folder, and here I'm going to say React project, and in React project I'm going to say near goals. Cool. So all I need to do, you all know I'm going to pass this command here, and I'm going to run this npm start. So npm start basically starts the project, right? So I'm going to check everything is working fine, so I can start working on it. So it's loading the project. So our project gets run successfully. Now go and check the project. So it's working fine. So to achieve this goal, we need to understand how we are going to make this and how we are going to make the structure of this application, right? So you can see this is a separate component, new year goals label, and this is text box and button. So we are going to make this separate component, and this list of components, list of goals is a separate component, right? So all we need to do, we will go on the app.js, and first we are going to create this separate components, and then I'm going to start working on this. So let's get started, guys. So here I go, and all I will say, remove this, and I'm not using it, none of this. So first, all I need to do is I'm going to create uh, the states where I'm going to manage all this, right? Because start a new React course and all these goals, I need to create some states. So let's get started from here. Const new air goals, set new air goals, use state, and in use state I'm going to say, because we can have multiple objects, so I will say text start new React course, right? And I'm going to pass the ID mat.random dot random dot toString, Second, I'm going to do exercise daily. Cool. That's good. So we have created two New Year's goals. It looks good now. And all I need to do is now I need to show these New Year goals. And I'm going to show here on the return. I'm going to remove this classes right now because I'm not using the CSS or anything. So all I need to do is I'm going to, you all remember we are going to, how we are managing this states. So New Year's, I'm going to say New Year goals and then I will say length. If length is greater than 0, then I'm going to show this New Year goals. I'm not going to do in this way. I'm going to add the component, right? So for adding the component, what I need to do, I need to go and create some UI things, but before that, I can write it manually for now to test it. Here, dot map and goal, and now I'm going to say goal dot text, right? So I'm going to show it. Okay, and what else? Right? So just go and check the output. Okay, it looks good. It looks good to me. Yes. So now we can see we have both uh, these goals here. We can see here. So now what we need to achieve, we are going to achieve this. So what I need to do, I will go and create some sections here. So section, I'm going to make some sections here. Here I will say mm, heading, or we can say input section, right? And this is going to be, I'm going to say this one, I'm going to comment this and add one more section here. And I'm going to say output section, or we can say the number of goals or goals list. I will, this looks good, list, right, guys? So it makes more sense. So I'm going to comment this code. Now what I'm going to do, first I'm going to create the upper part, right? So all I need to do in the source, I'm going to add components folder because now I need to create components. Guys, one thing to remember, I can create all the components on this app.js. There's no issue, no problem. We can, instead of creating the multiple components or say doing the, we are going to remove the complexity from this page. That's why I'm adding the components. Otherwise, you can write the code straight away, but it doesn't look good. React is not, React doesn't prefer these type of codes. So that's why I'm going adding components. And here I'm going to say one new folder, goal input, right? And in goal input, I'm going to say add goal input.js, right, guys? So in this folder, I'm going to add a form where I need to basically I'm going to add a form where I need to show this label and this text box and this button, right? So I'm going to say, yeah, cool. So you all know what I need to write, const and goal input. Guys, don't worry about the time because this is going to be a real-time application, so it is going to take some time because when we work on the real-time projects, we need to make sure everything is developing fine. So you need to be stay patient because it's all for your learning, right? So I'm going here. Now I need to pass what I'm going to say. I'm going to see. When I'm going to type any goal, I need to store goal somewhere, right? So all I need to do, I'm going to say const goal value, right? Set goal value, cool. And I'm going to say use state. It's by default, it's going to be empty. So, right, cool. So now what I'm going to create, I'm going to create one form and I need to return that form. So all I need to do is I write return and now I'm going to say form. I need to add one form and here I need to say div and in div I'm going to say label and on label I'm going to new year goal for 2023. Cool. And then I'm going to add one input and I'm going to say type is text. Obviously, it's going to be text. And then we are going to have on change. That is very important thing. I'm going to say goal input change handler, right? So in the last previous videos, I explained you about the two-way binding. So I'm going to implement here value is equal to I need to pass goal value, right? That's cool. It looks good to me. If I miss anything, I will add it later on. But till now, it looks good to me. And I'm going to add one button. Guys, I'm going to create a one separate button where I'm going to create, I'm going to say UI. So it can be usable multiple places. And now I'm going to say the UI, I'm going to say button. Can add a folder button, right? And now I'm going to add class button.js. Cool. And on button.js, I'm going to say I need to create a button. All I need to do is const button props. Guys, I'm going to tell you why I use the props. It's very important, right? And now what I need to return, I need to return the button. But the purpose of creating this separate button is I'm going to create some CSS styling so that I can use this button throughout the application. Uh, okay, type. I'm going to pass this type props dot type, right? And I'm going to say class name. That's why I will add it later on. And on click, I'm going to say it from props. I'm going to get this on click. This is basically we are going to hit the parent method and props dot children. We have discussed this thing in our previous video in detail. That what is the meaning of props dot children? This is basically the composition component, and we are going to add this at some places where we need to use when we use the actually word the props dot children, it means that where we are going to add this component, it is going to get all the component detail of this child component and pass it to the props dot children, right? So now I'm going to add some CSS for this. So all I need to do is button dot same name CSS. And guys, I have already created the CSS file, so don't worry about it. On my GitHub channel, you can check this on this GitHub Amar Parvez slash create reactjs complete course. There you can find this real-time new year application and your goal application, and then you can see all the CSS files. So that don't worry about it, right? So you all know that how we need to use this button CSS. So all I'm going to do is right now just going and import dot button dot CSS, right? So now I'm going to pass some class name. So this button is get created. Now I'm going to use this button here, right? So how we can use this button? It's very simple. I'm going to say button and add new goal, something like this, right? And we are getting this button from where I'm getting this button. Yeah, we are getting this button from port button from eh, goal. So now our input control is ready, but there's some issue. I have not called this on change method some anywhere. So all I'm going to do is, and this spelling is also not correct, const, like, yeah, cool. Const, and then I'm going to say event, and then I'm going to say set goal value. Cool. So here I'm going to say, yeah, event dot target. These are all things I have covered in my previous videos in detail. So don't worry, guys. Now you can see there is some issue. Yeah, there is some issue. This is the issue actually. We don't need to pass any parentheses there. Remove those. Now we in the event we are going to get the value of this whatever we pass in the tech input control, and then we are getting in the event dot target dot value. Here we are going to get the latest value of this control, right? So now this thing is ready. What we do need to do next, we need to call this input control. Where? On the app.js. So here I'm going to call this input control, and now I'm going to say input control, yeah, like this. And there are some errors. Yeah, the input control we have not called this on the top. Yeah, that makes sense. It's valid issue. Import and control from components. Then I'm going to say control and this. Cool. Now guys, go and check the application output. And if I go here, so you can see it looks good. We have a label, we have some text boxes, and button is ready. It looks nice. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add some CSS on this app.js, right? So I'm removing this the default CSS. Now I'm going to add this CSS. So guys, I have created two. One is goal ID and second is goal form ID. So now I need to pass this and I need to use this on my control. This is I already added the CSS, so you can just add ID because I have passed the ID there, and all I need to go goal form, right? So now go and check. Yeah, it looks good now. Great. So it's getting better now. So now our UI is looking much better than the previous. Everything is looks good now. So now the second part, right? On the second part, what we are going to achieve, whatever the goal we are going to pass. If I click on the add new goal, I need to show and add that goal in our list. So now I'm going to create on the working on the add button because I have not worked on the input button. So now I'm going to say, let's suppose if user hits on this on submit button, what we need to do. So I'm going to say first I need to pass this. So it's by default, it should be by default submit. Cool. Now I'm going to say on submit, we are going to pass some form submit handler, right? So I'm going to call this event. So I already need to try create this event. And so guys, when we click on this button, it actually reload this page. So first I need to stop this reloading. I'm going to say event dot prevent. Right, cool. So now it's not going to reloading this. So all I'm going to do is now I need to create some object and I need to clear this values first one after we click this. It's going to set and default values. So now, we have this collection here. We have two values in the collection, and now I need to create a method here, which I'm going to call in our child class, so that if we are going to input any value there, it needs to pass that to the parent class, child to parent relationship, which we have covered in our previous videos in detail, right, guys? So if you have any confusion, you can watch those videos. You will understand because I have covered those sessions in quite detail. So now I'm going to create const. I'm sorry, and then I'm going to add new goal. I will say it looks good. New goal, add new goal handler, and I'm going to say new goal here. And so what I'm going to say, I'm going to add this goal in this array, in this collection, right? So set new year goal, and here I'm going to say I'm going to set the values of previous goals. I've saved those values, and now I'm going to say it const updated goals is equal to previous goals. Updated goals. Now I need to say unshift, right? So it's going to be unshift. It's going to show on the top. All I'm going to say is text. Text. What is the text? New goal. New goals. It doesn't looks much better. New goal value and ID is same. Mat dot random dot toString. Right, guys? So this is how we are going to add the new goal here. It looks good to me, and then I need to pass this to this component, right? So we can use it. So I'm going to say hull here, and I'm going to say on add on add new goal. I'm going to call this, right? So it looks good to me now. And then if I go there on the input, here I'm going to say props. So this is the reason I'm using the props. Props start this, and I need to pass the value. And for passing the value, enter. I'm going to say call value. It looks good, right, guys? There is some issue on this. Yes, we have not used the properties here. It's okay. Properties is object which actually get all the values or attribute values in one object on the child. controls. It looks good to me. So now that's mean if I'm going to pass something here, it is going to add in the collection, right? So it looks good. So if I need to confirm it's adding the value or not, all we are going to say, we are going to just write console and something so that we will make sure that we are getting the values, and I'm going to say it like this. So now I'm going to say console here and like this. There's some issue. Uh, no worries. We are going to fix those issues. Okay, no problem. There's some issue with this code. It looks like I'm going to check this code. First, it said the New Year goals, which looks good, and then okay, set New Year goals, right? And then we have this previous goals. This looks good, and then we are going to say const updated goals, and I'm going to save those all the goals here. It looks good, and then updated goals dot unshift, and then I'm going to pass the new goal value. It looks good, and then ID. It all looks good to me. Okay, then what is the problem here? Need to confirm this thing. Are we coming to this point or not? Going to clear this. Okay, that means we are coming to this point. Okay, test. Okay, that's okay. Let me recheck the code. So now guys, the problem here is we are showing the function here, not the value actually. So I'm going to say this. And now if I'm going to test it, I'll get test and F12. I'm going to say add new value. So it's showing me 2, 3. So it looks good now, right? So now you can see here we are getting the UI, but UI is not. So the way we have shown you the demo, our target, so we have not up to the mark. So all we need to do is we will go the input, and in the input we are going to add a new class call input.css, and there I've already created some CSS classes. So and we need to add this first CSS here on the input, right? So now I'm going to add some classes here, class name, it's a form control. It looks good to me, and then I'm going to say if we needed any notes, that looks fine. So now this is what we are targeting on the focus, right? So this is the first part we have completed here. We have added a control and then some common button, composition buttons, so that we can add in our on multiple pages throughout the application. And now I'm going to write test 2, 3, 4. If I press enter, it is going to add here. So let me just test it. So it looks good now. We can see that it's adding the value in the collection. So that's a good news, guys. Now, what I'm going to do, first I'm going to remove this console. So now I know you are showing this. So the second section, in the second section, first I'm going to add the CSS. I'll say is equal to goals, right? Let me just confirm it. Yeah, goals. So here now I'm going to say I need to add some goal list collection. So again, a new folder, goal list. Guys, if you write the code in this way, this is really going to be helpful for you to make some changes in the application and your code really looks good, neat and clean. And this way you are going to learn so quickly also. So now here I'm going to say const goal list props because I'm going to use some properties because I'm going to get the collection from the properties. And now I'm going to return what I'm going to return. I'm going to return UL, the list of, I'm not going to add class right now. And then I'm going to say the properties. I'm going to get the collection. I have not passed it, but I'm going to pass it. Don't worry, guys. Stay cool. Goal. And here I'm going to say, right? So here I'm going to, yeah. So if I pass things like this, I'm going to say like this, goal dot. The value is actually goal dot text. I need to export this. All I need to do, I need to use this here. I'm going to use here and here I'm going to say new here goals and new goals are going to be as items, right? Because I use the word items from the property there. Okay, it looks good to me now and then I'm going to say like this. Goal is not imported on this page. Okay, no problem guys. I'm going to import it. Cool. Now there is no error. Cool, cool. Guys, we have covered our 60% of target. We have added this, and if I add goals here, it's showing me this. Let me just test it. Stop smoking, something like this. Cool. Now what I need to achieve? Now I need to wrap this Texas with some components because we have discussed that if we create any composition components, it is going to be a component which is going to be used throughout our application. Somewhere, if I'm going to use this wrapper, it's going to make the text like this. The second target is if I click here, it needs to delete the goal, right? So let's get started. So I hope you are enjoying this session and you're learning a lot from this session. And this is going to be a real-time application, which I'll try my best to achieve in the next 5 minutes. So now what I need to do for first I will go and create a common composition or I'm going to say common folder here and there I'm going to say wrap goals or anything which make easier to you to write the name. So I'm going to say wrap goal.js and here I'm going to say whatever the UI I will get, uh, I need to wrap in some CSS, right? So I will write something like this, cons goals and properties, and here I'm going to say return this, export default, cool. So here I said that whatever I'm going to get from the properties in the IL or list item from the UL in order list. If I get any list item text, I will pass in this way. So I'm going to add some CSS also. So I'm going to some styling. So repgoals.js, sorry, CSS. So here I'm going to pass some CSS. I have already created a CSS you can get from the GitHub project. So don't worry guys, stay cool. Import, and then I'm going to say rep goals CSS, right? Cool. So now we get the CSS, we get this. It looks good to me, and I'm going to use this item on the list. So if I need to use this item on the list, you all know what I need to do. I'm going to remove the li because I've created the custom li here. And then all I need to pass is, why we pass this keys, because we need to remove the unique key error issues. So it looks good to me. So now I'm going to say ID. ID is goal.id, and then I'm going to say, yeah, I think that's enough for now. Goal.text looks good. But issue is we have went can call this. No, we have already called this. Say goals. Yeah, this. So what is the issue this event handler is showing actually? Where it is showing? Okay, app handler. No, I'm not going to show this right now. I do not need to show anything. Yes, it looks good. So now you can see here how beautiful it is looking. This is the wrapper actually. Let me just explain you what we did just now. It's actually, yeah. Here you can see I'm showing the list of items. We have collection, multiple collections, and first I'm adding in the collection, and then I'm showing the list here. And then what I'm doing, I'm adding, showing the item one by one. And when I get the one item, it is actually basically text. So that's why I'm showing in some wrapper. So I made a composition component here. This is component like if I need to use the allies everywhere in our application, we are going to use this wrap goals or whatever the unique name you need to pass. And I got all the child control here because I already explained you when we are going to wrap this, it is going to get the all the properties and all the things of child control in the props.children, and we are going to return that with some li CSS. And this we make some unique CSS here, and then it looks like this. We are showing the text here, and this is the CSS where we have written the CSS and wrapper.css, this part here, right guys? So now our control looks beautiful. If I add some control, like I will say no soft drinks, soft drinks, cool. It looks good now, right guys? So now what the last thing which I need to do, if I click here, I need to delete this, right? So I will go here first. I need to write the code on the app.js, and then we will delete it. No worries. So all I need to do is I will go and write a code for delete. So I'm going to say this thing here, same. This I'm going to say here delete. delete, and I'm going to say call ID with some call ID, right? And here I'm going to say set new year goal, previous goal, updated goals, right, guys? Previous goals. So I need to filter which one. I'm going to say goal.id not equal to the one we are passing. So it is not going to fetch that, right? And return updated goals. Cool. It looks good to me, but there is some issue. I say set goals and cons and previous goals dot filter on line number 28. Okay, yes, this is correct. Yeah, not closing it, no worries, guys. Now I'm going to pass this to here on delete item. I am going to say you need to call this function, and now I'm going to check the property, and we will say I will go in call list. And when once I go in the call list, all I'm going to say on delete, because now I'm passing this control to from app to goal list, and then from goal list I'm going to say to this uh, wrapper, and I'm going to say prop start this name. It looks good. Now I need to go into the wrapper goals, and then I will say, right, guys, here I need to pass. Here return. But before that, let me just call this delete function here, cons delete handler, and I'm going to say props dot on delete props dot id, right, guys? And I'm going to say on click, when I click here, it is going to call this function and it is going to call the properties dot delete. So it will go back to goal list. And here it is going to say call the props dot on delete, and it will go to this app.js. And here it is going to say on delete, you need to call this a delete handler. So it is going to call this one, right, guys? So everything is looks good. Now I'm going to run this and I'm going to say I will leave. I will quit smoking. So if I add the goal, it looks good. But now if I click any of this item, it will take the ID of this object and it will pass it to the our wrapper control and component. And then that component will throw the request to the parent of like goal list, and then it will pass the request to the app.js and it is going to delete it. So let me just check it. It looks good. It's deleting the items. Wow, congratulations. Our application is almost ready and it's working on like real application. So I'm adding the goal, test goal. Great, guys. It looks really pretty and beautiful, and we have covered this session in 40 minutes, and I've explained all the concepts in detail in my previous video. Now I have again explained all the concepts of components. We have use states, we have composition component, we have properties, we have a lot of other things which we have covered, like events and also CSS, class names, and split the complex component into the multiple component and GSS. So thank you very much, guys, and keep watching my videos, and I hope you will like it and you will learn a lot. And last thing but not the least, don't forget to subscribe and like my channel. I'm preparing all these videos so that you will get as much as information as you can.